Hello, well, welcome to our talk, online talk now in this Fineco Congress. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Fernando, he's my colleague Alex Feldman. Both are professors, we are both professors at CIS Endicott International. CIS University Endicott International is a US university that has campuses both in Madrid and in the United States, in Massachusetts. We are going to talk about our experiences now, teaching history to non-humanities majors, and so that's why we have called this talk Applied, Comparative and Interdisciplinary. For us, it's important to frame this work, to frame all this research that we have done in the past year and a half, in which basically we have launched a research group, an interdisciplinary research group, that is called Global, Imperial and National Affairs. Also, we refer to it as GINA, in which, among many other things, we try to introduce and to bring and to explore pedagogical innovation in the fields of the humanities. In our precise field is in the history. We are both historians, and so we try to work especially with history. Our focus group, our sample that we have used for this research has been the students of CIS University, which, even though we have several majors, the most popular one and the one that most of the student body belongs to is to the business studies. So most of it is going to be like teaching humanities and precisely history to business studies. Why do we think we do that? Which is our goal? As all those series of people that we have belonging here, and most recently obviously it's Goodwin Armitage with the History Manifesto and Wyszynski, it's we should have. History must have a goal. That's a key, one of our key requirements, and one of our key things that while we're doing that. Obviously, our goal, our objective, is to develop new ways to educate, new ways to engage students, and most importantly, obviously, as you may have heard from the title, is to evangelize, as we may call it. To bring people from other disciplines to be aware of how useful, how enrichment, and how they can develop other facets of their life thanks to their humanities. Anyway, I'm going to speed up. We did 3 activities. Well, we have done several activities, but we're going to concentrate on 3. That's the applied, comparative, and interdisciplinary one. And the first one I would like to talk about is going to be about interdisciplinary. And for the interdisciplinary one, understanding the importance of interdisciplinary studies, we did a visit to this fantastic spot that is the Royal Botanical Garden of Madrid, in which we have done it 2 years in a row. We took students from research methods, that is junior students, 3rd-year students, and then as well senior thesis, that is senior students or 4th-year students. Anyway, obviously in those courses are a bit, sometimes the concepts that we touch are a bit abstract. So we try to bring them with objects, with reality, with things that they can see and can relate, and it has been proved quite interesting. So obviously we did this class that was going to be quite, as you may guess, for the historical Royal Botanical Garden, was quite focused on history of sciences, even though we had several other areas that we taught, several disciplines, the interdisciplinary. So basically we focus on 3 parts of the research methods. The 3 important parts that we have. Whenever you research methods or the senior thesis is basically doing a scientific paper. Something, an academic paper that you can publish, and you can in a congress such as the Fineco one. So we focus on 3 parts. That's going to be the purpose, the methodology that we're going to follow, and the style. But all 3 that we think is quite relevant. So basically, on the purpose, in this case of the Botanical Garden, they were quite impressed. Obviously, the driver, the inspiration of your work, in this case was going to be the political economy, how they try to acclimatize the Borbonic reform, or with the Spanish Enlightenment. They try to constructed research center in order to acclimatize those plans. And obviously they had another concept that is prestige, the royal prestige, or the Bourbon dynastic prestige. That was quite relevant. Then we came to the methodology. The methodology, obviously we talked about the linear taxonomy that was groundbreaking, breaking in the mid-18th century. And it was a big bang, because it completely developed a new way, a new method to classify plants, and it was quite interesting to use it. Actually, we have Linnaeus here in the middle of the study that actually presides the Royal Botanic Garden, the pond in the middle of the Botanic Garden. Why we thought that was interesting, because obviously that brought them to them an example of someone. I mean, that obviously the plants have been there for ages. People have been trying to classify it also for ages. I mean, for several decades before. I mean, I tried to do it, but no one found a way. So basically, he brought a new perspective. So you have, I mean, you don't have. That was quite important, because sometimes they struggle. They have to find complications. I mean, when they have to look for a topic, a new method, and something that's new, something that's innovative, and they think they have to do it from scratch. I mean, you have to find something that no one has done it before. And say, okay, I mean, like, you have different angles. I mean, like, you can look at something from different angle, or you can look at new methods. And that was why the case of Linnaeus is quite enriching for them. And last but not least, in this case, is going to be the style. The style, obviously, it has to be academic. And it's a paper. You're not writing a novel. You're not writing a poem. You're not writing a song. I mean, and that's also quite important. And I think that the botanical garden is quite useful for several matters. Now, obviously, it's we look at the different layers. The original one that was designed by Francesco Sabatini, that was the royal architect, and he was, I mean, basically the royal architect of Charles III, that he did the original design. But it did not fit into the purpose of the garden. And so that's why Juan de Villanueva, the young Juan de Villanueva, put it in a classical style. That is the one that has survived, more aligned with the principles of the Enlightenment. And that's why we thought, and that's why visual way to put it. And I guess, I mean, that's one of the main and the most important things for them.
Thank you, Fernando. We also carried out an activity on campus, in fact, about comparative history. The purpose for this has been to get students to understand that history is not just a story of things that happened in the past that have no bearing on today. In fact, the reason why the world today is the way it is because it has become this due to events and reactions and counter-reactions in the past. And so it makes history into a interconnected and, above all, cyclical process. These are students, of course, who study business, and they're very used to thinking about history as a linear story of progress, a kind of Whiggish or liberal version of history, instead of a series of repetitions or cycles, or even, as Mark Twain once said, rhymes. And so we created a paper, which in fact we published last year, a lecture where we compare the mercantilisms, the political economy, back to the political economy, mercantilism, feudalism, all these sorts of zero-sum systems. You looking at both the legal structure, the rhetorical devices used, and of course the political economies garnered and facilitated from Byzantium through the Spanish Empire and all the way up into the Anglo-American ecumenical imperialisms of the past 200 years or so. And so in this regard, we have looked at the areas, of course, the economic systems, the legal structures, and certainly, of course, the imperial rhetoric. What you were looking at here is essentially a Byzantine projection from the 12th century of a world map, essentially, a mappa mundi, but long before such things were created in Latin. This is based on Ptolemy's world map from the 2nd century BCE. The outcome for this has been to get students to connect conceptually the dots in these cyclical patterns: mercantilism, feudalism, imperialist rhetoric, colonization, conquest, of course, across time and space, from 1,000 years ago all the way to the present, through these 3 imperialist endeavors. Next, of course, and finally, we have the applied part of the humanities. Humanities cannot be applied without, first of all, human rights. This has been and must be the main point, the main embarkation point for all study of history and all humanities ever since human rights were first created after World War II, as of course we're already quite aware. So because we're interested in building historical analogies to the present, historical thinking, we brought students for a guided visit to the Casa Sefarad Israel at Calle Mayor in Madrid for the exhibition on Mauthausen, Memorias Compartidas. And because, of course, the shared memories between the Jews of Mauthausen and many other death camps and concentration camps, as well as the Spanish Republicans who were subject to the same treatment, the whole point to that exhibition was to show that these are the same, or similar at least, memories that are shared, not just by Spanish or not just by Jews, but by all humans, right? Because that's the point. And so we talk about, first, of course, human rights, because we host the RFK Human Rights Foundation in Spain here at CIS. And of course, we talk about inequality. That leads to identity politics, populism, extremism, and ultimately ethnic cleansing. The point has been, ultimately, what do the students gain from this? It's not just that this is bad, we shouldn't do this again, never again, et cetera, obviously. But also that it's not just about what happened and that we shouldn't do it again. This is not some kind of morality play, but that we actually have control, not over history, of course we have control over how we remember and learn from history, but we have control over our environment, our world today as individuals and collectives. We are too often taught there's nothing we can do. We just have to accept that there is no alternative. No, we have agency, and that's what our students have learned above all.
Okay. Well, I would like to do a quick wrap-up of the different things that we have touched before we ended up this motto. Obviously, our conclusion is mainly going three different areas. That's engagement, education, and evangelization, as we may call it, as we have stated in the introduction. Engagement, obviously, that was one of the key parts. Obviously, whenever we talk about bringing students from non-humanities majors interest into history, obviously we found it to have it, make it extracurricular activities, to bring them into that, it enriches as a whole the whole student experience. And also we have found out the importance of having a critical mass. I mean, to have a good group, a line that takes part in all the different activities, no? And makes it relevant for them. In education, several of them. Most important, I would say, is the importance of using objects. No? I mean, whenever they see pictures of 1,000 objects that they had there, it's easier to identify and to recognize it and remember. I mean, a bit like, as we call it, that Chinese system that you memorize through objects. No? That material is explained quite well.
Material culture.
Yeah, material culture. Going to material, also that there's aspirations besides money. Not everything is about materialism, but you have some reflection. And so basically try to cultivate that more reflection and less materialism. And last but not least, and I would say in education, I think it was also quite interesting, is going to be about the technology. I mean, making those events that technology free helps the concentration. Also, I mean, it's not like in class or in some other ones, that they have the temptation of the mobile. Also, I mean, not having PowerPoints as we have right now. Also, I mean, like they have that face-to-face, that eye contact, standing, makes them help to concentrate. And those are some of the other different things. And finally, evangelization. I mean, whenever we talk about evangelization, if history wants to keep relevant, I mean, it has to adapt. I mean, we have to face that reality, and it has to adapt to new majors, and it has to be interdisciplinary. And that's one of the key things that we have found. Anyway, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Looking really forward for your comments.